The athlete. It sounds interesting, right? To train like an athlete. I know where the idea comes from, and I used to believe this too. In order to push myself, I have to follow the philosophy of an athlete. And from the mental capacity, the grits, the intensity, the focus, the perseverance, it all makes sense. I agree. We can cut ourselves a slice of this idea, but underneath it all, there's a flaw in this thinking, and this is what I want to share in this video. Grüezi miteinander, Gregory von Lebe here. Now, Athlete X is not the only guy who talks about this idea of training like an athlete. Lots of trainers and coaches do this. And I get why and understand the reasoning behind it, as I already explained. The mental capacity, the philosophy, it's inspiring, most definitely. But if you are over 40, you have life happening all the time, you're not an athlete, and you don't make money with sports, this advice is terrible. You see, the over 40 age group is 1.8 billion people, and athletes are only approximately 84,000, the professional ones who make money with it. And so the reason this number is so small is because professional sports isn't for everyone, apparently. Now let's talk about the preparations of an athlete. So what does an athlete have to do in order to prepare for an event or a competition? Number one, he undergoes GPP, General Physical Preparedness. It's 4 stages actually. Stage 2 is SPP, the Special Physical Preparedness. Number 3 is CP, the competitive phase. And number 4 is PCP, post-competitive phase. So let's talk about GPP, which by the way is the one phase that you want to remember because it's the most important one. When it comes to GPP, an athlete has the goal to bring his body up to speed, increase your overall fitness, become a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, build the explosiveness, build ligament strength, joint integrity, muscle, all the physical qualities that the human body brings and that the human body actually uses to perform. And once you have built the GPP, you jump into SPP. And in the GPP phase, everything that you do is for phase number 2. And this is where you spend 80% of the weight room or with locomotion exercises like running, cycling, and only 20% is used for your skill or your specialty. And here's where the rubber meets the road. In the SPP phase, this is where the athlete starts to specialize, because you cannot compete at the elite level if you want to do everything. You cannot compete with elite soccer players, elite football players, elite tennis players, elite marathon runners all at the same time. You have to specialize. That's the idea of being an athlete. And this is the major difference. So in the SPP phase, you focus 80% on your specialty and only 20% is used in the weight room. And in phase 3, you get used to the competitive environment. So a marathon runner is now running the marathon at the average speed that he or she wants to use to compete at the marathon. The MMA fighter gets accustomed to the octagon. And then you have PCP, the post-competitive phase, where you actually unwind. You take your time to shut down, to relax, and maybe play a different sport altogether and get your mind off of your specialty and off of what you've been doing. And then that whole cycle starts again once you prepare for a new event or a new competition. Now, with that in mind, out of these 4 phases, only 2 are important for you and me, for the 1.8 billion people who are over 40, 50, or 60, and who want to improve their general fitness. You already hear it in the word. Listen, since only 1 out of 10 people seem to be in shape, you need most bang for your buck. You need a workout that's time saving. You need something that touches all bases of physical quality. And you need to be a generalist. You don't specialize. If you train like an athlete, you are required to specialize in a particular field. But nobody cares your 500 kilogram deadlift, and nobody cares about your 10-minute set with double 32s, jerk, or snatch. That's kettlebell sport specific. Nobody cares about this. You want to care about your general fitness, which means build your endurance a little bit, your power, your strength, your fitness, your mobility, your muscle for the looks a little bit, the ligament strength, the joint integrity, so on and so forth. You all want to build these layers all at the same time, because general fitness is that one common denominator that many of us are looking for when we train. Every one of us who does not compete, which is 99.99%, we belong into the GPP category. We train forever in GPP. And yes, we can play around with a couple of things. Maybe I'll focus a little bit more on strength for a couple of blocks. Then I'll focus a little bit more on endurance. I want to have fun. I want to have enjoyment. But I always want to focus on these important layers. It's not just building muscle. It's not just building my cardio. Everything is supposed to be taken care of. And since you are in a specific age group, you cannot waste your time and your skepticism is high. Therefore, you need something that takes care of all these physical qualities all at once. You need a jack of all trades and a master of none. And do not think just because you haven't mastered one specific skill or physical quality that it's not worth pursuing a fundamental approach where all skills and all physical qualities are equally built. You want a tide that lifts all boats, not just one. The kettlebell is one of the best things that can happen to an over 50, over 40, over 60-year-old, because it takes care of everything. That's why I also say that the kettlebell is the best GPP tool. Even though many people make it seem like it's the best strength tool, the best strength endurance tool, the best cardio tool. No. It takes care of everything a little bit, and that's what many people need. Hence, if you think back with me for a second, if you always think that you have to be the ultra specialist, you do everything you can in the weight room to bring up your deadlift. And I'm not talking about the kids. I'm talking about the over 40s, 50s, and 60s. So you only focus on bringing up your deadlift numbers, while at the same time, you completely neglect your heart health or your heart muscle. I don't think you're doing your body a good service. You are, of course, allowed to do so. But for many people, they get sidetracked by this idea of always trying to optimize for one particular physical quality and then missing all the others. I'm only concerned with building as much muscle as I can, because people think that I'm just a skinny guy if I don't do this. When most of the time, it's you who think this. You are focused on your body most of the time. It's your ego who does not allow you to downgrade or to deload a little bit. So most of us spend all of our time in the GPP phase, which makes sense. That's why I believe the kettlebell is so powerful. And one little percentage of our time can also be spent in the PCP phase, the post-competitive period. What does that mean? Even though we do not compete, I think it makes sense. Every 8 to 12 weeks, you take a complete break off of training, or you do something completely different. If you always spend most of your time in the weight room, why not you go running for a week? If you spend most of the time on track and field, why not play soccer with your friends for a week, or do some volleyball or whatever have you, or beach volleyball, which I think is an awesome sport to play. This takes your mind off of other things. Plus, I would even take it a step further and say, why don't you take time off? Because you have earned it. And why don't you use one full week to give your body the tools, the time, and the requirement it needs to build and harness and harvest all the input that you gave your body to build itself? Why don't you let it heal itself for one full complete week? This is where I think these two aspects of the athletic preparation make sense for us to use as well. So in a sense, we can also say, well, but then training like an athlete actually makes sense to a certain degree. That's why I say I agree to one part and I disagree with the other idea. Always trying to maximize your potential in any given field, I believe, is not the smartest thing to do when you are looking for a training program to take care of everything a little bit, especially talking about that particular age group over 40, 50, and 60, which I believe a lot of people tune into when they listen to Athlete Next and all these guys, which I believe are awesome, folks. They got great content. Some stuff I agree with and some stuff I don't agree with. That's the nature of things. That's the nature of becoming an expert in your own right to a certain extent. And then you see it from the bird's eye perspective and see things a little differently when you spend a lot of time with the tool and have a lot of experience with other people in real life. Then you might have a different perspective, which then changes your outlook on things. In a nutshell, the philosophy of an athlete, yes. The GPP phase of an athlete, yes. Relaxing then like an athlete, yes. But not optimizing and overdoing it and pushing my body to a limit and focusing only on one specialty or on one physical quality because I want to optimize in that field, because I want to beat somebody else. I don't think that makes sense. And this is where I draw the line. So here's the next thing that you have to do. Clean and press that like and subscribe button. Share with a friend who's also interested in kettlebells. And if you made it this far, download my free ebook in the first link in the description called the Kettlebell Code. If you're over 40, 50, or 60 and you don't have a lot of time, but you still want to take care of your fitness, I believe the kettlebell is the best tool to do this. That's why I want to give you a shortcut for you to get started. So download the ebook 100% free in the first link in the description.